I'm Adeline.
I'm Marty.
I am Alex.
And I'm Kevin.
Together with UCSD graduate students Ivan Rosero and Robert LaCasey, we began to think critically about the food that we eat, how it arrives on our table, and how it is produced. The more questions we asked, the clearer it became that our current food system privileges a higher energy, pesticide, and fertilizer-intensive monocrop approach to the production of food.
Additionally, our food typically travels thousands of miles before it arrives at local supermarkets. The overall effect of this mode of food production is that we eat less tasty and less nutritious food that at the same time demands high inputs of scarce resources and diminishes biological diversity.
We wondered how to raise our own and others' awareness about these issues. We decided that a good place to start, especially here in dry San Diego, would be to focus on our use of water. We hardly think about this precious resource here. We keep our lawns and golf courses green, we fill up our pools, and otherwise enjoy the convenience of reliable tap water, but we don't always remember that most of our water is piped from thousands of miles away. We asked ourselves, what if we use some of this water to grow our food in our own backyards?
What if we could develop a cheap way of measuring how much water we use to grow some of our own food? We could begin to simultaneously think about our resource use and reflect on our food system as well. So, we came up with a project that would put our scientific and engineering skills to the test, with the goal of producing a cheap moisture sensor system that we could use to become mindful and scientifically informed urban farmers. We call our project the Food and Water Consciousness Project.
So the Decagon moisture sensor has two prongs, and in the prongs are electrodes that, when it wants to find the moisture content of the soil, it charges the volume, which in this case the Decagon sensor can do 1 liter. So it charges the volume and then uncharges, and it does that over and over again, and it forms electric fields. And basically it times how long it takes to charge the field, and it uses that time in a formula to find the capacitance of the soil. Once it knows the capacitance of the soil, that's directly related to the dielectric constant, which is what it wants to find in the first place. A soil with a high dielectric constant would mean that there's a lot of moisture in the soil, and with a low dielectric constant would mean less moisture. So using that, it can find out how much moisture is in the soil.
After determining how the Decagon sensor worked, we proceeded to build our own. To do this, we needed copper electrical wire and galvanized nails. And what we did was we wrapped one end of a copper wire around the top of one galvanized nail and then soldered it on to attach it. And we did this to two separate nails so that we would have the two prongs that we needed, and each nail would have one copper wire attached to it. And once we had this, we basically had all the hardware we needed for the sensor, and now we just needed to come up with the code to make it work.
Not only did we have to build our custom homemade sensor, but we also had to program it. We did this in the Arduino programming environment since we were using the Arduino microcontroller. We would send a charge to one of our galvanized nails and then receive that charge, and depending on the resistance between the two galvanized nails, we would receive a reading. With this reading, we could determine how much moisture was in between the two nails.
So for the project, I wrote the Python code. Here you can see it says import serial and the time function and then the HTTP for putting on things fake. So the Arduino is here and it gets the information. It has 4 different values, and in this infinite loop, it waits a certain number of time before recording each of these values, and it splits them up into their 4 individual values. It then records all of those and prints all of them out. And then down here, it opens ThinkSpeak and sends them to ThinkSpeak. So on ThinkSpeak, it is recording each of these after a certain number of time, and it, for example, shows the temperature. So this would be if it was a constant temperature of 100, and it records all of these. It shows the temperature, the time, and the date when it was taken. So then these are possible moisture values. So this moisture 1, moisture 2, and moisture 3, if it, for example, was in 3 different types of soil. So it records all of them individually after a certain number of time has passed, and it keeps printing those out onto graphs that are constantly updating when they're getting new information. And so here it was at 310, so you can see it says 1510 and 1515, 1520. It organizes it into an easy graph for reading the values, and it gives very specific values that can be viewed online. So anyone in our group could have gone online and looked at these at any time they wanted.
We thank you for your time as we tell you more about how we accomplished our goals and where we would like to go next.
Please feel free to leave any suggestions you may have in our guest book.
And please try out our moisture sensor display.
We hope you too become interested in using our sensor system design to begin to think more critically about our food system and how we use our natural resources. Thank you.